The RoughRiders and the Missions squaring off for the final time in 2014 for the regular season, and we're joined by a special guest on the RoughRiders pregame show, seven-time All-Star and former big league closer Trevor Hoffman. Trevor, welcome to Frisco. Have you been to Dr. Pepper Ballpark before?
I haven't. Pleasantly surprised at really how things flow. The surface is a nice playable surface and a great venue for you guys to play in.
You retire after the 2010 season, and then you take a job in the Padres front office. This season, you're working as a minor league pitching coordinator for the Padres, of course. What made you want to get into coaching?
I just kind of want to still be around the game. I think so many times you hear guys get out of the game. They start doing some of the things that they've missed over the time that they've had their career going on, and it's hard to get back into the game of baseball. And so being in San Diego, living in San Diego, and being a big part of the Padres, it was kind of a nice, easy transition to still be around the game, but also be able to spend time at home. So they did a nice job a couple years before I retired with Dave Roberts and Mark Loretta opening up the special assistant role, and both those guys have transitioned into amateur drafting for Loretta, and now obviously Dave Roberts being our bench coach in San Diego. So it's kind of a nice way to kind of keep an eye on guys that were part of the organization and give us an opportunity to stay around.
Talking to some of the Rovers for the Rangers system that have come through, a lot of those guys are former players as well, and they say that one of the best things about their position is just getting to be a part of the daily grind. And is that maybe what you missed the most when you were in the front office and away from this side of the game?
Well, I certainly gravitated towards the field when I was involved in the front office. I got a chance to go to spring training and be there for a couple weeks, and that's where my comfort zone was. And so being a part of the daily grind for a week at a time is great, and still getting a chance to go home and be a part of family life is really a great balance that we're able to have. And so I don't envy having to be out there on a daily basis and taking care of stuff, but it's certainly great from afar to be a part of what's going on a daily basis.
Also gives you a chance to grow out the hair a little bit too, a different look.
A lot different look. Too much moss underneath the baseball cap when I was playing, so now I definitely get to let it go out.
Trevor Hoffman joining us on the RoughRiders pregame show. 601 career saves for Trevor. You were drafted by the Reds in the 11th round of the 1989 draft. What memories do you have of your time in the minor leagues?
You know what? It really is about simplicity. We talked a moment before we went on the air here how not much has really changed in my eyes as far as what these guys go through on a daily basis, their dreams of getting to the big leagues and what they're trying to do from a performance standpoint as minor leaguers. And so it was some of the best times I had in my life. Guys all in kind of the same boat at this stage in their game. Most of them aren't married, and so you have your friends that you kind of are leaning on day to day as you go through your season. And so it's a lot of fun to kind of come back and be a part of the grassroots that are going to be one day part of our big league crew.
You have a secret admirer from one of the guys on our team. Keone Kela has been the closer for us for the better part of this season, and he was dumbstruck by your appearance when he first saw you, and he's one of the more social guys on the team as well. What's your message for a guy like that at that stage of his career?
I'd certainly like to have an opportunity to talk to him personally, but I've been impressed with the way he's thrown the baseball 2 of the 4 nights that I've been here. Tremendous fastball. His numbers have been off the charts. Really impressed with the explosiveness that he's showing out there on the mound, and really how he's getting things done all the way up to this point in his minor league career. Born in L.A., grew up in the Northwest, so I did a little background on him. Very flattered that one, he'd even remember who I was, having retired a couple years ago, but two, to be as successful as he is in the closer's role here, he's got a bright future ahead of him.
The records that you've set aside, any one of these guys at the AA level would love the chance to be able to play professionally into their 40s like you did. What were some of the things that you did to stay so well conditioned physically and have such a long career?
Well, it's a commitment. I think that there's not an easy answer to say any one thing will allow you to have a long and illustrious career, but certainly you don't want to have a situation where you look back and you kind of say, what if? What if I would have worked as hard as I had to on each and every day basis to hone my skills, to be physically prepared when I had to go out there and perform? Some of those things are hard. It's a grind. The game's built on failure, and sometimes it's a situation where it takes its toll on young guys, and they think they're much further away from the big leagues than they really are. I mean, you're a phone call away at any point in time, but certainly from AA and AAA, the 2 places I go, you're right there on the cusp. And so you never want to leave any rock unturned. You want to give it your all each and every day, and when you do get a chance, you want to stay there for a long time.
Looking back over the course of your 18-year MLB career, when it was Trevor time, what was one or two hitters that you really enjoyed facing or battling pitcher to hitter?
Anytime I towed the rubber, it was a competition. I love that part of it. Certainly, the moments would change, not necessarily every time with particular hitters, but anytime that that game was on the line, you had less than 2 outs, guy in second or third. You had to kind of tighten up your focus. But some tough outs that I had to get over my years. Mike Piazza was a guy that stood out. Todd Helton, Barry Bonds, guys in the National League West that I had a tendency to kind of see quite a bit of. But certainly relish that opportunity to compete. Some of those moments to compete in the big leagues are some that I'll never forget, and it's part of big league life. But it certainly was a lot of fun to face everybody.
It's been a big year for the Padres in many ways, one of which has been the change in leadership up at the top with A.J. Preller, formerly of the Texas Rangers, coming aboard. Have you had a chance to meet or interact with the new leadership so far, and do you get a sense for the direction that they want to take this team?
Yeah, I have. I had a chance to really sit down and get an idea of what Mike D. and Ron Fowler and the rest of our administration, upper-level administration, were looking for, and was privy to some information along the way when they were doing interviews, the 7, 8 people that they brought in, and then it get narrowed down to 4 and then down to 2, and ultimately AJ getting the job and having a chance to meet him. I can see why they were so enamored with the way he handles himself. I've just been around him in a couple days here in Frisco. Just his asking of questions, his ability to see things that kind of through a scout's eye is important. His sidekick I also got a chance to see, and Mr. Welke, and it's been a lot of fun to see those two, their relationship, and how tight they are again here in Dallas. And so I'm looking forward to getting back to San Diego. Next week we'll have some small organizational meetings leading into the offseason. I look forward to being around them some more.
Another reason the Padres have been in the news this season, of course, was the very untimely death of Tony Gwynn. Tony, a former teammate of yours. You two were the face of that Padres franchise in the 1990s. How has his death impacted you?
Yeah, it's a tremendous loss, not only for the Padre organization, for all of San Diego. Tony was a guy that played his collegiate ball at San Diego State, 20-year career with the Padres, and then went back to his alma mater. And baseball was his life. But to have an opportunity to spend 8 years as a teammate of Tony's, and then watch him transition very nicely into the booth, and his insight into the game. At age 54, we lost him too early. Really going to miss just his laugh and his genuineness to want to be around the game and give input. Again, I said it earlier, but it's a tremendous loss for our organization.
Last question for you, Trevor. I believe I saw you doing the ALS Bucket Challenge in the right field corner a few days ago. That's, of course, has gone viral and has really swept the nation. Who challenged you, and then who did you pass the challenge along to?
Yeah, Mark Sweeney from Fox Sports San Diego, former teammate, challenged me. I, in turn, did not do it properly because I left out 2 other people. I just challenged my older brother, Glenn, to it as well. And I think Randy Smith texted me earlier today. In the last 24 days, they've raised $64 million, and $54 million were raised all of last year. So it really has swept the nation. Tremendous cause. Jeremy Horowitz, one of our legal counsel people in the front office of San Diego, sent out the initial vine, we'll say, about the guy in Boston that has basically started this whole thing and was afflicted with ALS. His name's escaping me.
Pete Frates.
Pete Frates, exactly. And a great piece. Really kind of brought it to full circle for me and why this is going on. I think so many people are just seeing all this ice getting dumped on people, and we kind of lose sight of why. But great story. Glad to be a part of it and glad to pass it on.
Especially as a former baseball player, that must have some extra resonance for you.
Yeah, and seeing video of him at Boston College, he was a leader. You could just see the way he spoke and the way he handled himself in the field, and the excitement he had to go be able to play in Fenway Park, one of his childhood dreams to go play there. So, it's a common bond that we all have. It's a small fraternity, and we certainly hope the best for him.
Trevor, we've appreciated having you in town for the course of this series. Best of luck the rest of the season and as you continue to pursue your coaching career. Thanks again.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, he's former big league closer Trevor Hoffman. We're back in a moment on the RoughRiders Baseball Network.